Very good evening to all of you. Welcome to News Tonight on Rajya Sabha Television. I am Aishwarya Kapoor with you. After over 2 months of coronavirus-induced lockdown, India on Monday entered the first phase of the three-phased Unlock plan. So Unlock 1.0 is our top focus. Also, there has been a big boost for MSMEs and there's going to be better pricing for farmers in big cabinet decisions that were taken today. All the details on these big stories and much more coming up ahead. First up, some election-related news, and Rajya Sabha elections to 18 seats from 7 states will be held on the 19th of June. Announcing this, the Election Commission said the counting of votes will also take place on the same day. Out of the 18 seats, 4 each are from Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat, 2 from Jharkhand, 3 each from Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, and 1 each from Manipur and Meghalaya. The Election Commission also announced that Chief Secretaries will depute a senior officer from each state to ensure that the existing instructions regarding COVID-19 containment measures are complied with while making arrangements to conduct the elections. There are 55 vacancies from 16 states in the upper house. While 37 members were elected unopposed, elections for remaining 18 seats were postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic. In some other news, Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu and Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Monday held detailed discussions on holding the monsoon session of Parliament in the context of coronavirus-induced norm of social distancing. Option considered for holding the monsoon session included holding the Lok Sabha meetings in the Central Hall, with the Rajya Sabha shifting to the chamber of Lok Sabha and the sittings of both houses to be held on alternate days. Both presiding officers have underscored the need to adopt technology to enable Parliament sessions as a long-term options to tide over situations when regular meetings are not possible. They also noted that since there is no requirement of maintaining confidentiality of the proceedings of both the houses, which are open to general public besides being telecast live, virtual Parliament is an option to be explored. Both Secretaries General briefed the presiding officers regarding issues connected with the proposed virtual meetings of various committees of Parliament. These include providing a safe technological platform, complying with the rules of confidentiality of deliberations in such meetings, and the difficulties in ensuring the same in case of virtual meetings, infrastructure upgrade to be undertaken to enable virtual meetings, and the time likely to be taken in this regard. This is Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV. The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, met on Monday. Here is a report on the key decisions that were taken.
The Union Cabinet on Monday signed off on a roadmap to implement the measures announced in the government's Atmanirbhar package. Announcing the cabinet decisions, Union Ministers Prakash Javadekar, Narendra Singh Tomar and Nitin Gadkari said they will have a transformative impact on the lives of India's hard-working farmers, MSME sector and the street vendors. The cabinet approved the provisioning of 20,000 crore rupees as subordinate debt to provide equity support to stressed MSMEs. This will benefit 2 lakh stressed MSMEs in the country. The proposal for equity infusion of 50,000 crore rupees for MSMEs through Fund of Funds also got the cabinet approval. This will establish a framework to help MSMEs in managing the debt equity ratio and capacity augmentation. The cabinet also amended the turnover limit. For medium manufacturing and service units, it will be 50 crore rupees of investment and 250 crore rupees of turnover. Turnover with respect to exports will not be counted in the limits of turnover for any category of MSME units, whether micro, small or medium.
शहरी और आवास मंत्रालय ने विशेष सूक्ष्म ऋण योजना शुरू की है। इसके जरिए रेडी पटरी वाले, ठेले वाले, छोटा दुकान जो बिठाते हैं, सड़क पर माल बेचते हैं, उनकी क्षमता और उनका काम चले इसके लिए ज़्यादा ऋण उपलब्ध कराने के फैसला किया है। भारत सरकार कोविड-19 के दौरान इनके समक्ष आई परेशानी के प्रति संवेदनशील रही है। इसी के तहत इन्हें तत्क्षण सहयोग हेतु ये ऋण की योजना शुरू की गई है ताकि अविलंब ये अपने व्यापार को गति दे सके। फुटपाथ दुकानदारों और रेडी ठाने वालों को चाहे शहरी क्षेत्र या ग्रामीण क्षेत्र के हो, इस योजना के तहत इन सभी लोगों को वर्गों को 10,000 रुपए का ऋण दिया जाएगा। इसे वो मासिक किस्तों में अधिकतम 1 वर्ष के अंदर वापस लौटा सकते। समय पर भुगतान करने को वालों को 7% वार्षिक ब्याज सब्सिडी के रूप में लाभार्थी के बैंक खाते में जमा कर दी जाएगा। इसमें किसी तरह का दंड का प्राविधान नहीं है। इस पहल से इन वेंडरों एवं अन्य विक्रेताओं को आर्थिक उन्नयन में मदद मिलेगी।
The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs also approved an increase in the minimum support prices for all mandated Kharif crops for the marketing season 2020-21. The MSP of paddy has been hiked by 53 rupees per quintal to 1,868 rupees per quintal for the 2020-21 crop year, while that of cotton has been increased by 260 rupees to 5,515 rupees per quintal for 2020-21. The government is also extending the repayment date up to 31st August 2020 for all short-term loans up to 3 lakh rupees advanced for agriculture and allied activities by banks. Farmers will also get benefit of interest subvention and prompt repayment incentive. Further, the agricultural short-term loan due between 1st March 2020 and 31st August 2020 will continue to get benefit of 2% interest subvention to banks and 3% prompt repayment incentive to farmers.
जो कृषि लागत और मूल्य आयोग है, यह सामान्य तौर पर एक पूरा मैकेनिज्म बना हुआ है जिसमें वो लोग मिलकर कृषक की उत्पादन में जो लागत आ रही है और लागत के समय जो जो चीज़ें उपयोग होती हैं, चाहे वो बीज की कीमत हो, खाद की कीमत हो, मानव का श्रम हो, बैल का श्रम हो, मशीन का खर्चा हो, डीजल हो, बाकी सारी चीज़ों को जोड़कर वो ये तय करते हैं कि लागत कितनी आ रही है और उसके ऊपर समर्थन मूल्य कम से कम 50% और उससे अधिक, जैसे मैंने 64 भी बताया, 83 भी बताया, इतना प्रतिशत उसमें बढ़ा है। इसका लाभ निश्चित रूप से किसानों को बड़ी मात्रा में अगले बार होने वाला है।
For street vendors, the government has launched a special micro credit facility scheme to provide affordable loans. This will enable them to resume work and earn livelihoods.
जो प्लांट एंड मशीनरी में इन्वेस्टमेंट होगी इक्विपमेंट में, वो इन्वेस्टमेंट 50 करोड़ तक रहेगी। जो 20 करोड़ की घोषणा थी वो 50 करोड़ हो गई और जो टर्नओवर था, जो 100 करोड़ हुआ था, वो 250 करोड़ रुपए हो गया। तो इसके कारण एमएसएमई को काफ़ी बड़ी राहत मिल जाएगी। ये बहुत बड़े प्रमाण पर इसका फायदा हमारे इंडस्ट्री को होगा। पर यह करते समय इसके साथ और एक फैसला लिया गया कि चाहे माइक्रो हो, चाहे स्मॉल हो, चाहे मीडियम हो, वो जितना एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे वो एक्सपोर्ट का टर्नओवर इसमें नहीं पकड़ा जाएगा। तो एक्सपोर्ट का टर्नओवर इससे बाहर हो गया और ये लिमिट बढ़ गई है और इसके कारण बहुत बड़ा फायदा इस सेक्टर में होगा। ये जो डिमांड थी ये पूरी हुई है।
As part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, One Nation, One Ration Card, free food grains even for those without ration cards, a new affordable rental scheme for their housing, and many more measures have also been announced for migrant labourers. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday appreciated the efforts of the doctors and other frontline workers in India's fight against the coronavirus pandemic. He was addressing a group of medical professionals as he inaugurated the Silver Jubilee celebrations of the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences in Karnataka. Here are the details.
Addressing the gathering via video conferencing, Prime Minister Modi said the medical community is like soldiers without uniforms and any violence against them will not be tolerated. He further said, coronavirus may be an invisible enemy, but the country's warriors, the medical workers, are invincible.
The world is looking up to our doctors, nurses, medical staff, and scientific community with hope and gratitude. The world seeks both care and cure from you. Friends, at the root of India's brave fight against COVID-19 is the hard work of the medical community and our corona warriors.
Prime Minister Modi said COVID-19 is the biggest crisis since two world wars, and post-COVID-19 the world will be very different. He further called for the need to focus on human-centric development. The Prime Minister added that the centre will pass a law to deal with the shortage of paramedical personnel.
Friends, earlier the debates on globalizations have focused on economic issues. Now, the world must unite and focus on humanity-centric aspects of development. Advancements nations make in the health sector will matter more than ever before. Friends, during the last 6 years, we in India, many initiatives in healthcare and medical education.
Prime Minister Modi said that during the last 6 years, the government has given topmost priority to reforms in health and medical education. He asserted that the country has seen rapid progress in setting up 22 more All India Institute of Medical Sciences. He added that over the last 5 years, over 30,000 seats in MBBS and 15,000 seats in post-graduation programs have been increased. Prime Minister Modi also sought a discussion on the advances in telemedicine, use of Make in India products in healthcare, and IT tools in the medical sector. He also mentioned the Ayushman Bharat, stating that the world's largest healthcare scheme belongs to India.
We are broadly working on 4 pillars. The first is preventive healthcare. This includes the importance to yoga, Ayurveda, and general fitness. More than 40,000 wellness centers have been opened, where a key focus is on controlling lifestyle-related disease. The success of the Swachh Bharat mission is another key part of preventive healthcare. The second is affordable healthcare. Ayushman Bharat, the world's largest healthcare scheme, belongs to India. In less than 2 years, 1 crore people have benefited from this Ayushman Bharat scheme.
The Prime Minister informed that 12 crore people downloaded the Arogya Setu application, which had proven helpful in India's battle against the viral infection.
Even as India entered the Unlock 1 phase in its fight against the deadly COVID-19 pandemic, the nationwide tally of coronavirus cases crossed 1.9 lakh on Monday morning. Novel coronavirus infections witnessed a single-day jump of 8,392 people in the last 24 hours. Total cases stood at 1,90,535, including 5,394 deaths. Of these, 230 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. Monday was the second day in a row when the daily tally crossed the 8,000 mark. The sharp rise in cases comes as the government declared its intention to reopen the country in a phased manner after nearly 2 months of lockdown to tackle the pandemic. However, the silver lining continues to be the rising recovery rate and the steady decline in case fatality rate. The number of patients who successfully fought the illness stands now at 48.19% after over 91,000 people recovered on Sunday. This is an improvement from Saturday's 47.4% and from 38.29% on 18th of May. India's fatality rate is now 2.83%, one of the lowest among the worst affected countries. There has been a steady decline in the fatality rate. On 18th of May, the death rate was 3.15%. On 3rd of May, it was 3.25%. And on 15th of April, it was 3.30%. The relatively low death rate is attributed to a continued focus on surveillance, timely case identification and clinical management of the cases. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, India has tested over 38 lakh samples, of which over 1 lakh tests were done yesterday. As part of continued focus on testing, ICMR on Saturday advised all states and union territories to conduct serological surveys that are blood-based diagnostic tests to measure novel coronavirus exposure in varied populations. In his monthly Mann Ki Baat on All India Radio, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday cautioned people against showing any laxity in the fight against COVID-19, asking people to be extra alert and careful. The Prime Minister acknowledged that the poor and labourers have been hit the hardest by the crisis. The first day of Unlock 1 saw the phased reopening of most economic activities across the country. The lockdown is now limited to only the containment zones. In Delhi, barber shops and hair cutting salons have opened. Spas, however, are still closed. All shops in markets have opened. Restrictions on the number of passengers in autos, e-rickshaws have also been lifted. However, borders of the national capital will remain sealed for a week more. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has sought suggestions from people about opening the border. In Uttar Pradesh, offices resumed work with maximum staff, though in staggered shifts. UP State Road Transport bus service started from different bus stations with thermal scanning for passengers. However, restrictions are in force at Delhi border in Gautam Budh Nagar and Ghaziabad. Maharashtra has announced phase-wise resumption of activities termed Mission Begin Again. The state government has allowed all markets and shops except malls to open from the 5th of June. Private offices have been allowed to operate with up to 10% strength from 8th of June. Interstate travel by road, air and trains will remain prohibited in the state till the 30th of June, except for migrants, stranded people and Shramik special trains. Lockdown will continue in containment zones. Tamil Nadu has also not lifted curbs on interstate bus transport and metro and suburban train services. E-Pass will remain compulsory for interzone and interstate travel. In Madhya Pradesh, interstate buses will not operate till the 7th of June and a decision will be taken thereafter. However, the state has done away with e-passes for interstate movement. And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has urged everyone to handle Unlock 1 with care and responsibility. In a Facebook post, the Vice President said Unlock 1 was the response of the national leadership to the people's demand for more space for social and economic activities. He said Unlock 1 marks a new beginning to rebound from long confinement with severely pruned list of prohibited activities only in confinement zones. He noted that the number of people still subjected to restrictions under Lockdown 5.0 is very small, as they are applicable to only about 6,000 containment zones. Noting that meaningful living is all about striking a balance, the Vice President said life needs to be handled with care, and this shall apply to our conduct during Unlock 1. Commending the work done by the states in fighting the coronavirus, he said they now have a bigger role in handling Unlock 1 with enhanced freedom of decision. And now the global update on the coronavirus pandemic, and the United Kingdom took a huge step towards restoring normalcy by reopening schools and non-essential businesses. On Monday, it also announced that outdoor markets can reopen and people can meet up to 6 people outside their homes. Elite competitive sports have also been allowed, but spectators are not allowed. Experts are, however, expressing concern that the loosened curbs could result in new waves of infection. Among European countries, around 70% of Spain has entered phase 2 of looser restrictions. It has allowed meetings of up to 15 people from different households. Restaurant indoor services have also been permitted. Along with the reopening of stores, cinemas and museums can function with limited capacity. Greece has allowed a limited number of international flights to operate from Monday. France will enter the next phase of deconfinement from Tuesday. Nationwide travel restrictions will be lifted. Bars, restaurants, cafes, beaches and museums will reopen in low-risk areas. Italy is also nearing the end of domestic travel restrictions from the 3rd of June. Residents will be allowed to take holiday trips, visit distant friends and family, or relocate to summer homes. Turkey is also easing containment measures. Restaurants, cafes, gyms and swimming pools, beaches, parks, libraries and museums have all resumed operations. Intercity travel bans have also been lifted. In Philippines' capital Manila, residents enjoyed their first day of looser restrictions on Monday. Most business and public transport resumed services while thousands of employees returned to work. Philippines was under lockdown for 11 weeks to contain COVID-19. In Australia, people returned to zoos and art galleries on Monday as virus restrictions eased further. Pubs and restaurants have been allowed to function at extended capacity, while up to 20 people can now attend funerals. Museums and libraries were also allowed to open. China reported 16 new coronavirus cases across the mainland on Sunday. No deaths were reported. Worldwide, the COVID-19 pandemic has claimed over 374,329 lives so far. The virus has infected over 6.2 million people. And in some international news, violent protests continue to rock the United States over the custodial killing of African-American George Floyd.
The police-civilian clashes have killed at least 5 people. Thousands have been arrested. Curfew has been imposed in nearly 40 cities across the country. The severity of the protests even forced President Donald Trump to briefly take shelter in a White House bunker. The protests engulfed at least 140 cities across America in the days after the death of George Floyd, a 46-year-old man who was pinned to the ground in Minneapolis on Monday by a white police officer. The unrest initially started in Minneapolis in Minnesota but has now spread across the country. Reports of violence are coming in from major cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Houston, Philadelphia and also Washington, D.C. On Sunday night, the police fired tear gas near the White House to dissuade protesters who smashed windows of prominent buildings, overturned cars and also set fires, with smoke seen rising from near the Washington Monument. There were also multiple instances of police vehicles being vandalized and shops being looted in several cities. The violent clashes prompted the activation of the National Guard in at least 20 states. The Trump administration alleges that the violence is planned and driven by anarchists and far-left extremists. Massive protests calling for justice for George Floyd have also erupted outside the US in cities like London, Berlin, Toronto and Auckland.
And World Milk Day was observed across the globe on Monday. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu greeted the people on the occasion.
Venkaiah Naidu said that World Milk Day recognizes the importance of milk as a global food and celebrates the dairy sector. He said dairying holds a special place in India's rural economy. Citing success stories, the Vice President said that organizations such as Amul have amply demonstrated the transformative role dairying can play in boosting farmers' income and enhancing nutritional security. Venkaiah Naidu also complimented all hard-working farmers, particularly women, for making India a leading nation in milk production. This year, the initiative completes its 20th anniversary, and that's why the theme is 20th Anniversary of World Milk Day. The day encourages the benefits of dairy products related to health and nutrition, effectiveness and attainability, and the passion of the sectors and commitment to feeding the economy. The day holds great importance for India as the country is first among the world's milk-producing nations since 1998 and has the largest bovine population in the world. Milk production in India during the period 1950 to 51 to 2018 to 19 has increased from 17 million tons to 187.7 million tons. During 1964-65, intensive cattle development program was introduced in India in which cattle owners were provided with a package of improved animal husbandry for promoting white revolution in the country. In 1970, the National Dairy Development Board introduced a new program, Operation Flood, aimed to create a nationwide milk grid. It was a rural development program initiated by the National Dairy Development Board of India. Operation Flood has helped dairy farmers direct their own development, placing control of the resources they create in their own hands. Operation Flood was one of the world's largest rural development programs and it has also been termed White Revolution. It transformed India from a milk-deficient nation into the world's largest milk producer, surpassing the US in 1998 with about 17% of global output in 2010-11. Within 30 years, it doubled the milk available per person in India and made dairy farming India's largest self-sustainable rural employment generator.
And that is it from me and the entire team of News Tonight in this edition of The Bulletin. Thanks so much for watching. Good night and take care.